Miraculous Ladybug may be a kid's show, but it is one that tackles very mature themes and dark subject matter. This includes abuse, obsession, neglect, and much, much more. Some characters act as harbingers of these matters, being the reasons they exist in the show, while others go against the grain to show that the world still has people you can look up to in it, even if they come few and far between. These characters easily inhabit each of the 7 deadly sins, along with the 7 heavenly virtues, but which characters fit which mold? Before I answer that, I ask you to follow me on X/Twitter and TikTok, consider becoming a channel member if you have the means to do so, and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Now, let's get on to it. Pride is defined as excessive belief in your own importance or superiority. I believe that this description aptly fits that of Chloe Bourgeois, a spoiled, narcissistic brat who sees herself above everyone else. She very often gets lots of criticism from the fanbase, but one thing that irks me that people don't point out often is her habit of calling Marinette Baker Girl. Her inflated sense of self-worth clouds her judgment so much that she refers to someone of lower class by their status as the child of a baker. And when she does call her by her name, she says it in its entirety. This is a method of estrangement to signify that they aren't friends. She uses her full name because you refer to a friend by their first name, not their full name. Chloe even has a servant, quote unquote, in Sabrina. Chloe has stated many times she doesn't see Sabrina as a friend, and very often mistreats, unfairly berates, and just plainly disrespects her, as Chloe sees herself above Sabrina. She even sees herself above her own father, as his pushover nature helped lead her down such a bad path. It seems the only person that she doesn't see herself above is her mother, a person even more prideful, and the true catalyst for Chloe's undoing. The exact opposite can be said about Nino Lahif, the embodiment of humility. Humility is defined as having an accurate view of yourself, recognizing both your strengths and your limits. Nino does not only envelop that, he pushes its boundaries. Nino is not only very down to earth, but he's someone who knows what he's capable of. He has his fears and he has his doubts, but he knows what makes him, him. Nino is one of my favorite characters because he never needed a Miraculous to be a hero. He fends off a Nazi completely unpowered, he jumps in front of a Venom meant for Ladybug, and he even started a resistance when Monarch stole the Miraculous so that Ladybug and Cat Noir wouldn't be in the fray by themselves. He knows he isn't above anyone, and goes out of his way to keep others safe, even if it may be at the cost of himself. Nino's humility is nigh boundless, and I guess the same can be said about the next sin. Greed is defined as an unhealthy desire for more wealth, power, or possessions than you need. One character stood out to me beyond any other in this show when it came to greed, that being Bob Roth. The pure avarice displayed by Bob Roth over the course of the show is on par with Mr. Krabs. Bob Roth is known for encouraging and even partaking in the theft of others' intellectual property and giving it to his talentless son Xavier Eves, more known by his stage name XY. He is shown doing this in Silencer, where he says this:
"If you're short on great ideas, borrow someone else's."
He steals Marinette's designs and Kitty Section's music for XY, but his greed only gets worse. In Migration, he talks Luca into signing a contract, lying to him that it would include the entire band of Kitty Section, only for him to then reveal he didn't care at all about the band and only wanted Luca to market him as Jagged Jr. This isn't even the best display of his greed, as an ephemeral Bob Roth is akumatized due to his extreme distress caused by his loss of 1 penny. It's disgusting one person could be so greedy, but this is a completely foreign concept to that of Marinette Dupan Chang. Charity is defined as choosing the good of others even when it costs you something. Generosity motivated by genuine care rather than recognition. Aside from Marinette's alter ego of Ladybug saving the day for not even so much as $1 with a mask to help her remain anonymous, her civilian life is also full of paramount acts of charity. Whether it's being the catalyst for Mark and Nathaniel's comic and more, the willingness to help her crush go on a date with someone she didn't like, the constant plans to help others out with their insecurities and shortcomings, and much more. Marinette has built herself as someone who tries to help. As a superhero, a girl in a costume, or just a regular teenager, she will always be there. And I guess the same can be said about Natalie Sancour, even if it may be for the wrong reasons. Lust is defined as overpowering sexual desire or obsession. This has never been more prevalent than in Natalie. While she wasn't lustful for many, the one who she was lustful towards would end up being her own temporary downfall. You see, back when Emily first got sick, Natalie was the person who risked her life and burnt her time helping look for the cure with Gabriel Agreste. And even after Emily's death, Natalie didn't stop helping. At first it was turning a blind eye to Gabriel's crimes, but then it would evolve into aiding and abetting, as Natalie would soon become Catalyst, a power multiplier for Hawkmoth. After this failed, she would then number her days by using the broken Peacock Miraculous to help a cornered Hawkmoth escape from the Mirror Avengers. Once her days were numbered, Instead, her attraction only helped lower that number, as in the following season she would help create 6 more senti monsters. This would prove to be fatal, as her love for the billionaire Taylor caused her death in confirmation. The relationship between Natalie and Gabriel was her downfall, but Adrian's love for Marinette only made him better. Chastity is defined as respectful self-control over desires, and Adrian fits this mold perfectly. Every time a girl has had a crush on him and made him move, he'd always give some pushback, as it didn't feel right, and he wanted to be with someone who he had true feelings for. When those true feelings finally made it through his thick skull, and he realized his feelings were for Marinette, all he wanted to do was spend time with her, and when they became a couple, that's what they did. What really shows Adrian's embodiment of this virtue was his willingness to help Marinette combat her own trauma related to love, and give her enough time for her to be ready for their first kiss. As many times as that was interrupted, they eventually would share their first kiss as a couple, once they were both fully ready. However, someone's, or should I say some two's, readiness only made them jealous of what they would eventually find in a world over. Envy is defined as resentment towards others because of what they have or who they are. No one fits this definition quite like Ladybug and Claw Noir. The two bizarro miraculous holders come from a war-torn dictatorship of a world in which they've only known hardship and pain. Their environmental struggles are only galvanized once their personal lives are put on full displays to their doppelgangers.
No amazing BFF, let alone a calm and gentle mom or a boyfriend who doesn't think I'm a total loser!
Their pain is then tripled down on, considering the way they've been using their miraculous has slowly been killing them, meaning on top of their world being a hellscape and their lives being painful, their days are also numbered. To add insult to injury, they can't even make any wishes using their miraculous, meaning if they want to live, then they must take their respective miraculous from their multiversal counterparts. If they could swap lives, they would.
She's gone! And my father doesn't care! He's too busy deciding dresses and costumes! Busy creating things like he's already moved on!
As Ladybug wants Ladybug's positive outlook and support system, while Claw Noir wants Cat Noir's ability to accept loss. Luckily, the duo get a happy ending in the Paris special, but the actions and motivations of those two are completely outshined by the kindness and gratitude displayed by our next virtue. Kindness is defined as appreciating what you have and sincerely celebrating others' successes, practicing thankfulness and goodwill. Few are as kind, positive, and upbeat as Rose Lavian. If I'm just being honest, I don't think I need to explain myself on this point, but I will anyway. Rose is happiness personified. She's kind to a fault, as she tried covering for Chloe's inhumane treatment of Marinette because of how much she sees the good in people, and she even got herself turned into a zombie because she went out of her way to help Chloe in Zombie Zoo. Her kindness even got her frozen by Timebreaker in the eponymous episode. She willingly let herself be taken by Guilt Trip to help Julika, and she's part of the Resistance and their charge against Monarch and Deflagration. Enough said. Gluttony is defined as overindulgence or overconsumption. The common misconception is that this only applies to food. The truth is gluttony can apply to anything, as long as it's overindulgent. Personally, there's no fit for this quite like Gabriel Agreste. While the Kwame's choice in the final day proved that he did want the miraculous to make his wish, the truth is, it wasn't like that for a while. Gabriel may have started his villainy with wanting to save his wife, but in the coming years he would prove that it wasn't about that anymore. Evolution proved that Gabriel had become gluttonous. His overindulgence, Ladybug, and Cat Noir. In Evolution, he had the chance to go back in time and fix his mistakes, but he just couldn't get enough of the fight. He didn't want to save Emily. That would just be a byproduct of victory. He wanted nothing more than to win, to beat Ladybug and Cat Noir. That's why he nearly won in Deflagration. In some way, he caused Ladybug and Cat Noir to retire and swiftly beat their proteges. That's why he won in Recreation. In his mind, he miraculized Cat Noir and beat Ladybug. He won. His insatiable drive, not to get the wish, but to beat our heroic duo, was his gluttony. And that's what caused him to win, to feel satisfied in his victory, and ultimately, give up his life so that he wouldn't have to deal with the consequences of his actions. Someone who has learned the meaning of consequences and understands the next virtue to a T is Alex Cabdell. Temperance is defined as moderation and balance, the ability to enjoy things without letting them control you. Alex is the only candidate in my book for displaying temperance. After she's given the Rabbit Miraculous and takes up the mantle of Bunnix, she's given untold amounts of power while simultaneously being banished from her time and home, away from her family and friends. But she doesn't let that stop her. She explores time, helps out when it's absolutely needed, and acts as a guardian of the miraculous in her own right. She learned firsthand what consequences are and how irresponsibility leads to trouble, and learned how to balance all aspects of her life. Even when given a golden ticket to go back temporarily for her birthday, she had to be convinced to take it because of how careful she is. She exemplifies restraint, balance, and lack of excess. But excess can only be used to describe our next sin. Wrath is defined as uncontrollable anger, hatred, or desire for revenge. When initially picking candidates for each sin and virtue, the absolute first person I filled in for any spot was Lila Rossi for the Sin of Wrath. Lila's anger culminates in many ways, abusing Nuru, framing Marinette, and even partnering with Tomoe. But it isn't her uncontrolled anger that sets her spot at the table, but her uncontrollable desire for revenge. The planning she puts into the frame job she did in Ladybug, with the planted test answers, the fake tumble down the stairs, and the planted necklace in Marinette's locker, was otherworldly. She said they were at war, and she meant it. We've also seen how she can act when she's angry, most notably her infamous crash out at the end of the London special, and how poor Nuru looks each time he shows up in season 6. The worst part is, we haven't seen the half of it yet when it comes to Lila's bloodlust and total warpath against Ladybug. And what we have seen against Marinette, with the limited resources Lila had compared to now, shows that things can only get worse, and they very much will. Lila's polar opposite, on the other hand, is someone who is very much the overwhelming favorite among the miraculous side characters. Patience is defined as emotional restraint and perseverance, responding to frustration with calm and choosing understanding over retaliation. The fact is that no one has the patience quite like Luca Caffeine, willing to hear everyone's struggles, helping a friend succeed with the girl he's in love with, moving to Brazil for the emotional safety of a couple with your love interest, and much more. Luca's shown to be a rock that Marinette's emotions bounce off, and one that she very much enjoyed having in her life, till it became too much after her new role of guardian. Luca was constantly level-headed, sacrificed his mental health for that of others, and protects significantly more people than he lets on. I see no one else characterize patience quite like him. Speaking of protecting, this next character is supposed to do that, as it is a reason for his existence, yet he still couldn't be bothered. Sloth is defined as extreme laziness or neglect of responsibilities. My candidate for this would be Plague, the Kwame of Destruction. Despite his job of providing powers to help protect against evil, he doesn't seem to care half the time. He just wants to sleep, eat camembert, sniff Adrian's dirty socks, and basically everything else that doesn't involve transforming. His laziness and lack of responsibility knows no bounds, as in Oblivio, after he got his memories wiped, his first instinct was to leave at the first sign of trouble. He doesn't like transforming even when it means helping others, and he doesn't like powering up even though there's no evidence it's painful in any way. He'd just rather relax. This could always be a rough exterior he displays, as in Deflagration he did basically sacrifice himself to stop Monarch from getting his wish. Someone who could never get along with Plague, as they are always on top of things, is my candidate for Diligence. Diligence is defined as loyal, hardworking, and dependable, showing up when it matters most. There may not be a single character in the entire Miraculous universe who is more hardworking and diligent as Kagami Tsurugi. Kagami always strives for perfection, no matter the area, and when she falters, she always takes responsibility, acknowledges the error in her ways, and actively tries to do better. This couldn't be more evident than in Akari Gozen, when she didn't listen to Ladybug's plan and tried 1v1ing Akari Gozen until she realized her mistakes and even tried to return the Miraculous. She's always trying to do better, and always working on perfecting her craft. When she's needed, she'll show, and the list of characters more dependable than her is shorter than Officer Roger's hair, and no one could argue that. Thank you for watching. Shout out to channel members Gerardo Rostero, Loki, and Harb. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.